everyone. Welcome once again to the Iconist podcast, where the icon is, and we'll get into that in half a second. As you know, I'm one of your hosts, Barry Carter, Barry 3D for Deep, Dark, and Delicious. The joke never gets old. Hey! On my side, the man, the myth, the legend, my cousin, my best friend, who keeps us dancing and rocking all night, all day long, the one and only
DJ Rod C. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. We're going to be talking about someone special today. But manners make it the man. Let's handle that. Let's handle that. Oh, you know what? No, forget it. I'm going to tell you. We're going to talk about Sgt Rock. Sgt Rock. Who's that? You'll find out. But let's move on manners. Manners?
Manners maketh the man. So as always, we like to say thank you very much for supporting the show. So, we're talking about Sgt Rock, and on today, we got to check out the people that support the show. So here we go. So first and foremost, you got to support the comic books that support the shows, that give us things to talk about. So we go to your local comic book store and give them support. Comic book stores that we go to is Wow Comics out in Kitchener, Once Upon a Tale, Hero's Tale, out in Cambridge, and of course, Check Swings out in Montreal. Check those books out, comic book stores out, and show them some love, and tell those guys we all said hi. You heard about him on the Iconist podcast. They will appreciate it, and so will we. On top of that, we are also part of the Subculture Podcast Network, where it's our show, along with Rebel Rock Radio, Dork Wars, Portable Hole, Entertainment Rants Podcast, and Trekker's Delight. Okay, that's the Subculture Podcast Network, and we have you covered for anything you need and love to do. If you wanted, kind of support the show, which we really appreciate it, first you got to support the host. So support me by checking out my website, barry3d.com. Once again, at barry3d.com, you'll find all the shows that I'm doing locally and all over. And I got some shows coming up in Brantford. I got a show coming up in St. Catharines. So there's more shows being added onto the calendar as we speak. And of course, Cornwall. So, this might be out the day after, but Cornwall, you keep your eyes out. This one will be at. So barry3d.com. God, where can we find you?
You can find me on the World Wide Web. You can find me on Instagram at Mr. Rod C. You can find me on twitch.tv/DJ Rod C. As well, you can find me on the world of TikTok at DJ Rod C1. That's DJ Rod C1. Hit me up in there and we'll connect. Let's go.
Let's go. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and share. Don't let the show be a secret. That click means so much for us in helping our channel grow, and we've got so much for you. We've got fan casting, we've got antique mall reviews and walkthroughs, we've got toy unboxings. So we've got it, and we're growing, and we need you to grow with us so it keeps us growing too. Now, if you want to turn around and do a podcast, you should go to podbean.com, and you can find our show, iconist.podbean.com, on there, and all past episodes. So please download, support, and wherever you get your podcast from, download, support there too. That's great and helpful. And of course, if you're going down that route, or no matter what you're doing, personal, professional, if you need a graphic artist, there's only one man, and one man you should turn to alone.
J Bird Digital Art.
Mr. Jason Reese, J Bird Digital Arts. That's who you got to go to. And if you tell him you heard about him through the Iconist podcast, he'll give you a discount on the work, especially with the holidays coming up. Come on now. You've got to save money so we can spoil our friends and family. Okay. On the podcast today, Rod, in honor of Remembrance Day, we did it last year and we're doing it one more time again. We're doing Remembrance Month. So we are getting down with the comics that represented that time, the heroes that could have been a part of that time. And we are starting off with the one and only
Sgt Rock.
Can you smell what the rock is cooking on? That's a different rock.
Okay. That's another rock. That's the People Champion rock, but not the Sergeant. Right.
Yeah, that's right. He was the People's Champ. But let me tell you, Sgt Rock he is the People's Champ if you think about it that way, right? So let's get down to it. So Sgt Rock made his first appearance in DC Comics under our Army at War, issue number 83, back in June of 1959. Gemini.
Funny.
I had to put that one in there. Sorry, Rod. It is what it is. I'm just reading it. Those are the notes. That's what it is. Our Army at War, issue 83, June of 1959. Before I came into existence. Wow, that means that character has officially been around at this time for about 65 years. He passed his birthday back in June. Sgt Rock hit 65. Okay. Now, he was made by Robert Kenninger, right? And he was the writer, and Joe Kubert, who was the artist, back on that particular issue when they introduced Sergeant Rock. Now, Sergeant Rock, his full name is Franklin John Rock. His last name is, okay, this is not it is what it is. And he lives up to that name very well. So pretty much, he was part of the United States Army. He's part of Easy Company. So that was his group in the United States Army. Was Easy Company. He, now of course he's had affiliations with Suicide Squad. Yeah, believe it or not, yes, he has. Future Commandos, which is coming out very shortly, or it's probably gonna be out by the time this episode is out, the cartoon. So check that out for sure. And of course, Justice League Unlimited. And he's got his abilities. Now, is he a superhero? No. These were comics made about World War II and the heroes taking place in there. And he's been all over. He's been in his own, so in other books, the other books I mentioned, he's actually been in issue number 200 of The Brave and the Bold with Batman. So Batman has teamed up with him back in the days. Batman had his own crossover team-up book, which was Brave and the Bold. Spider-Man had I can't remember what his team-up book was called, but I know he had the Thing, which was Marvel 2-in-1, and Spider-Man had his own team-up book with other characters. So Sergeant Rock, for those who like period pieces dealing with World War II, and that was where the setting took place of, this is what he's done. Now, I know his prototype first made his appearance in GI Combat number 68 back in January of 1959. But, his rank wasn't giving at the time. He was just, it was just merely a story, and it was called The Rock, right? And then, he returned later on as in Army of War, our Army at War, issue number 81, as Sergeant Rocky with his unit, Easy Company. And then, of course, they graduated as Sergeant Rock. Now, what makes this man so special? Well, there's a lot of things. So first and foremost, have we heard about him? I've heard about him. Rod, have you heard about Sergeant Rock?
I've heard about Sergeant Rock. I heard about him.
Right. Have you ever read any of his stories like back in the day or
not directly? No. Yeah. I will admit I have not seen haven't read any of the Sergeant Rock, but I do know him, as you said, do crossovers, other people talking about bringing up Sergeant Rock and knowing that his imprint in DC at the time, well, back in those days, his imprint of being that type of G.I. Joe type of soldier, giving a great, what's the best way to say, great illustration of war and, any type of army type of storylines. Sergeant Rock was always one of the top, within the top 5, top 10 that you always mention. Anything in that particular genre, you can't say that without at least mentioning Sergeant Rock.
Absolutely. I think he was the king of the war books at the time for, DC. Now, here's interesting. We always know DC and Marvel. If one has it, the other one wants it. Where there's a Britney Spears, there's a Christina Aguilera. You hear me? Okay. Where there's Debbie Gibson, there's Tiffany. Okay. You got me? There's always, if one has it, someone else wants it. That's how it's always been. Because it didn't get sold. So with Marvel, there's a Wonder Man, there's a Wonder Woman. Okay, so I know the powers are different, so they go off that way. Let's divert for a little bit. So Sergeant Rock, 1959, as Sergeant Rock, our Army of War, issue number 83 back in June. Going in it, you got to look. Okay, but where did the other guy? Who copied who? Well, let's put it officially. Sergeant Fury. So Nick Fury from Marvel, so Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos made their first appearance in May of 1963. Now, Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos was a World War II book by Marvel Comics. And if you look at the two, Easy Company by DC, Howling Commandos by Marvel, only a few years difference between the two properties, like 4 years difference between them, still taking place during. So we can say 100%, to me, my opinion, Sergeant Rock influenced Marvel to come up with Nick Fury. Now, of course, people know Nick Fury, and they're like, yeah, but wait a minute. Isn't Nick Fury black? Nick Fury was only black when they came up with the Ultimate Universe years later, thanks to Mark Miller as one of the creators of the Ultimates back then, and he put a spin on it, and he used the physical expression and template of Samuel Jackson to be the Nick Fury. So this is why we got the black Nick Fury and not the white Nick Fury. So if you've heard past episodes, you'll hear me say, hey, yeah, I read comic books back when Nick Fury was white. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So these two never had a crossover issue. I think it would have been interesting if Easy Company and the Howling Commandos did have a crossover issue, even up to now, the backstale of DC and Marvel. I think that would be cool for Remembrance Day. This is why we're doing this for Remembrance Day and Remembrance Month, as we like to call it. So I almost got myself. When again, we're doing this in honor of the troops, regardless of political beliefs. We're just saying for people that go out there and put their lives on the lines to give us the freedoms that we have in the world today. Thank you. Thank you. This is your salute. So and very realistic kind of depiction of both, right? So not getting off of Sergeant Fury. I just wanted to know if everyone's gonna say who came first. It was The Rock. Followed a couple of years later, 4 years later, by Nick Fury. Okay. Salute. Sitting here in my engineer shirt. Salute. Big shout out to our buddy Sean. Thank you, sir. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I'm doing that salute right. So Nick Fury started off as a soldier. And then as the years went on, he lost the eye, he got the eye patch, he started doing secret agent missions, and then he became the director and leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. So he worked his way up. All right, so enough of Nick, because this is all about The Rock. Okay, and with Sergeant Fury, this is where he came into, this is why he was created, and these are the stories he told. Now, let's break down some things here. So let's go into what is he? So him and Easy Company are part of the infantry division of the Army. So they're part of the U.S. Army infantry. So if you look back at World War II, at what a infantry soldier would dress, wear, what was at their disposal, weapon-wise, vehicle-wise, it's almost like you're looking at the 12-inch version of G.I. Joe when he was like Action Force. No, before the Action Force, but G.I. Joe when he came out with the beard. And so, there was Jeeps, there was machine guns, obviously, but, technology has gone way up from that time that they're in up to, us here today. And the comic book really represents that very well. Joe's art, very detailed in showing the action, the stories, and keeping the character grounded in what was available to him and what he was using at the time. So he was trained marksman in the U.S. military. He was an infantry. So infantry, as opposed to an engineer, are going to have a different set of combat skills as opposed to, maybe helicopter pilots and all that. And I don't know enough about the military. For those out there that do know, let us know. Okay, let us know what your roles are. But I understand infantry because I've seen it. So these are the guys who are on the front lines, who are rushing in, who are in the trenches, who are out there doing, the recon, and pretty much as infantry, your first contact. And an infantry soldier at the time, they said his life expectancy, and I could be wrong, on the field was measured in seconds in full-out combat scenario, not hours like how it's portrayed in movies. It's literally in seconds. Your first contact, infantry on both sides, hot zone, firing rate. Okay, seconds. Yeah. Okay. And Sergeant Rock was really influential because they really got into the character of the person. His first appearance of our army at war, he doesn't say much, but he inspires the men that follow him. Henceforth, why they called him The Rock before Dwayne Johnson. There's no people's elbows, but he was the people's champion. He be, as a leader, he would be the first one. So let's get into Easy Company. That was his, that was his group, his platoon, his troops. They were known as Easy Company. And people are always saying within the U.S. military, you're like, hey, you hear about Easy Company? Did you hear about Easy Company? You hear about Easy Company? So his tales got told amongst the other troops as inspirational, almost like a Captain America kind of thing. Like he would inspire the troops. People like, hey, man, you heard the Easy Company did this? So why were they given Easy Company? Because things came easy to them. No. They were called Easy Company because nothing comes easy. So they took the hard jobs. They weren't just kind of getting by. They took the hard jobs because nothing comes easy. And then Sergeant Rock would inspire his troops. All right, that's a man. That's a leader right there. That's a man's man. And that's how he's portrayed. He's portrayed as a leader. He was sympathetic. You wouldn't get a lot of internal dialogue on some issues. It was just pure action. Like that's what more can you say? What more can you say? Right. What are your takes on it, Rod? I know you did some research here. What are your takes on?
Yeah. Well, sorry. The thing with Sergeant Rock, you said he's a great leader. He's the type of person that he's gonna do whatever it takes to get the mission done. He's willing to be that type of person that I can't ask of you what I won't do myself.
Yes.
He's the type of person that says, well, something, let's just say, I got to take down an infantry. I got to, get across the lines or get to someone quickly, the enemy type of scenario. He's not going to bark orders and then let his troops take the first step out of the foxhole and do what they got to do. No, he's the first ones out. That's, showing out his leadership. Another portion of it, there was a time when he was basically, a tank was coming and he was basically trying to, had to take out the tank. He was the one who literally took the hand grenade, went underneath and did similar to, as we've seen that between that particular type of style with, Captain America, First Avenger, where one of his teams basically went underneath and, connected the grenade underneath the tank. Similar type of process, same side of the steps, but Sergeant Rock was the one who did that and felt no way. Basically, he was the one who also, as well, after that happened, he acted as he played dead, and the enemy who came up to him, about to poke him, let's say, oh, he's dead. He faked them out, but he was willing to take the chance to be in that situation and just like, okay, we're going to try to play dead. Let's see, see how long this lasts. Get close enough to two. Pew, pew. That's it. So I'm just saying, Sergeant Rock shows that he has the type of integrity that if this is what I need to do, I will be the first one to do it and have my men back me. But I'll be the one making the first step and lead lead by example is the word I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And that was a great issue. So and that was in that first appearance of Sergeant Rock there, our army at war. So I know, and then to add to that, so he gets out there, he tells his men, lay down cover, he goes out there, he does what he has to do. Takes 2 grenades, so he's unarmed, takes 2 grenades, lays down, lets the tank go over him, puts the 2 grenades in the tank tread, lays there, as he said, dead. The other soldiers come up, right, the Germans at the time and the Nazis, and they turn around, poke him. It's like, oh, we gotta make sure he's dead. And he springs up. He beats them by surprising one of them, grabbing his gun, his rifle, and then he starts swinging the rifle as a club. He didn't even shoot any shot. He just beat those guys down when the tank exploded. And this other guy was trying to be, let's be real. We're men. We got a lot of testosterone in the air. Everyone's trying to be over macho. And one guy was a new guy on the team, and he was like, well, hey, my last name was Wall. They call me the Wall. It's like, oh, that's the Rock. Well, why they call him the Rock? He doesn't seem that big. Sergeant Rock didn't even think anything of it. Did he hear? Did he not hear? But he kind of looked. He's like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to do what he got to do. So this guy was so up on trying to be the Wall and trying to be the man, right? That he noticed Sergeant Rock ran out there, did all that, and they're like, see, that's why you can't mess with Sergeant Rock. He went out there, no weapons, except for 2 grenades in the tank, blows up, beats down a couple of the Nazis that were trying to attack him, who were following behind the tank, right? Saved his company. So he saved Easy Company, gave them a chance to fight back and push the enemy back. It's just one story right there. Okay, then going forward in that same issue, they get on a plane, they make it to the rendezvous, they get on a plane, they're taking off. So the Wall turns around and goes, oh, Sergeant Rock, you're behind that, 50 machine gun there that's on the tail of the plane. Maybe that, look a little bit small for that. Maybe you should let me handle that one. You take this other gun. Sergeant Rock's like, yeah, sure, whatever. He's not going to argue, just get the job done because the Wall's trying to show off his machismo. Gets in there, right. Gets shot in the arm. The Wall starts to falter. He's passing out. Sergeant Rock runs back, sees it, doesn't say a word, right? No thought bubbles, all action. Runs back, grabs the guy's machine gun, guns down the tank. right? As they're taking off. Other enemy aircraft are coming in. What does Sergeant Rock do? He starts shooting them. The guy who calls himself the Wall was turning around and saying, oh man, I'm feeling dizzy. I can't stay up. How can Sergeant Rock be handling all this? Sergeant Rock, not putting anyone down, helps that soldier up, leans him on the machine gun, and the two of them start going. And all he says is, you see, you helped me. You didn't let me down. You helped me shoot down that enemy aircraft. Great job. And the Wall was like, oh, wow. Because it made him see now, here I am trying to show I'm going to be the man in this platoon. And this guy helped me up, even though I've been trash talking to him, helped me up. He didn't put me down as a person. He didn't try to burst my bubble and say, see, you couldn't do it. He could have helped him out, and he walked away. And by the time they got back, it was, yeah, you know what? Now I see it. You know why? I know why they call him the Rock. Because a wall could tumble, but a rock will never falter. Oh. Okay. He ain't like Cobra Commander where he leads from the back. It's like, here's the plan. Here's the most dangerous part of the plan. One will do it. I'll be back. We won't let you down, sir. Because if you're going to do that, we're going to make sure this part is done.
Right.
Oh. So, as an infantry soldier, what's your requirements as infantry? So, you go through, I think it's 6 weeks basic training.
Yeah.
Right. So and then of course you go up and you have to hit the level of sergeant. So, of course, every person gets in there. You got to start off as a private and you work your way up. So, we go do, let's see here, military ranks. Let's just pull up military ranks and see what we come up with and see how that plays out. And it's just more me, it's like a round table discussion on it. And I said, some people know this stuff offhand, and then there's us who don't. You tell me about comic books, yeah, I'm all into it. You tell me about the military and stuff like that, okay, maybe not. There's other people that can. I'm not that person, but we gonna have a fun discussion about it. U.S. military ranks. Let's just see where we could figure what out real quick here. So that means, all right. So and I'm just pulling up here roughly. So sometimes the internet lies. So if I'm wrong, you let me know. So you had to be a private, right? So you had to start off as private. Was it PV1? Then a private. Let's say PV2. Then a private first class. Then corporal, and then you get the sergeant, and you get the staff sergeant, and you get the sergeant first class, and then master sergeant, sergeant major. So I'm trying to determine what class exactly was Sergeant Rock. That's what I want to know. I mean, I know they refer to him as Sergeant Rock, but was he just a sergeant? I imagine so, because if I'm looking, wait a minute, I'm looking at his stripes here. So it was the 3 that are on top, and he's got 3 on the bottom. So he's a master sergeant. That's what he is. Okay. So Sergeant Rock is a master sergeant. He just goes by Sergeant Rock, but he's a master sergeant. And I'm just going from a picture that I'm seeing here that's on his helmet that has that insignia. That's what I'm basing this off of. If I'm wrong, please let me know. So that means he had to be there. So that's like, and I'm looking at this chart here. It says uniform service rank chart enlisted. So he's an E8, which is, master sergeant. And then, of course, it would be the next one below that is like first sergeant. So that's where he's at in the chain of command.
Yep.
Which means he's been in there long enough to earn his stripes.
Correct.
Okay. So that's step number 1. And then, he's in the U.S. Army. So if we do U.S. Army and infantry, what does that look like for us for half a second? That's my other thing. It's like, because I'm trying to get down to, can his skill set be? Like they say in Batman, where does he get those wonderful toys? And a lot of that is, so we know, of course, there's weapons training, right? There's got to be some hand-to-hand combat, like, at least basic hand-to-hand combat. There's got to be like 6 weeks in the army, right? Like, boot camp to get all that up to speed. And then, and that's the basic of what I know. I know I'm probably missing other things. I know he's also a marksman. So he's got that good eye, that one good eye, and get people from a distance. Not a sniper, but a marksman, almost like a sniper, I imagine. Oh, okay. Yeah, you know, infantry, branch of the army made up of soldiers trained, armed, and equipped to fight on foot. Which, if you read the books, pretty much goes by that. You don't see Sergeant Rock in a tank, obviously. You know, he might show up in a tank in an issue, but not long term. Most of the time, you're seeing Sergeant Rock and Easy Company. They're hot stepping it.
Yep.
Here come the hot step bus murderer.
Jeez.
I'm just saying.
Okay. All right. I hear.
You know, we are learning as we are talking and having a great conversation. So here it goes. In combat, the role of infantry is to capture or destroy enemy ground forces and repel enemy attacks. Members of the infantry are ground troops that engage with the enemy in close range combat. They operate weapons and equipment to engage and destroy enemy ground forces. So this is why they're calling it airstrike sometimes, because, hey, if you're calling it an airstrike, I'm calling it an airstrike. If I'm behind a line and I'm dug in, meaning they can't make any further ground because the enemy's got maybe better artillery and made more trenches and so forth, here we are. It's almost like what they refer to in Wonder Woman, that first movie where they were at that one war where they, one part where they couldn't get past. And that was a true battle, that they kind of incorporated into the movie until Wonder Woman dropped to the skies and ran through that hail of bullets, which was, and she made it. But Sergeant Rock would have figured out a way. Okay. So they were all over Europe defending freedoms during this whole point. Did they have losses and so forth? Yes. So for Sergeant Rock, he showed up as our Army at War. Then, of course, he got his own Sergeant Rock book, which went for 422 issues. So he's been around like steady from June 1959 up to July of 1988. And then, of course, he had miniseries during that time, after that time, and of course, crossovers, and made appearances in various TV shows or cartoons, but more as a background character, never like full front.
Focal point. As a focal point.
Thank you. That's exactly what it is. So he does show up in, as himself. Sergeant Rock appears in Justice League, that 3-part episode where the Savage Time, and he was voiced by Fred Dryer. So Fred Dryer voiced him. So it's a very small role, but that part was when you're, the Justice League are fighting Vandal Savage. They had a crossover 3-parter, of course, as I just said, but they're going through different points of time. So you see Sergeant Rock and Easy Company. You see Black Hawk with the Blackhawks, they show up, and other smaller groups that you would not have. So they made their appearance there. He also shows up in the Brave and the Bold episode, The Plague of the Prototypes. And that's another place he showed up in. And he also shows up as, so there's a soldier implied to be Sergeant Rock, appears in, Legends of Tomorrow episode Legendary, portrayed by Blair Penny. Okay. Thank you very much. So he's made his whole things come across. And of course, if you're around long enough as a character, someone's gonna poke fun of you. And Grandpa Simpson parodies Sergeant Rock in the Simpsons episode Raging Abe Simpson and his grumbling grandson and the curse of the flying hellfish. This is why Abe had the adventures he did, and they portrayed him that way. Now, some fun facts on top of that is Arnold, I'll be back, Schwarzenegger, was portrayed to be, Sergeant Rock in the 1980s, 1990s film, but it just didn't go.
To the chopper. That's it.
Right. But, once again, I'll say that, some of the characters he played, if you look at Commando by Arnold,
100%.
Okay. If you look at Predator with the rest of the guys that Arnold was leading, that was, I think, Arnold's take on, in Predator, of him being Sergeant Rock and the rest were Easy Company. Enough said.
Yep.
Easy Company was made up of multiple different people from all different backgrounds, which back then it was groundbreaking. It was true to what the army was, right? People had to put aside certain differences to work together, and it just for the greater good. That's all it's got to be. I've talked a lot about Sergeant Rock. What are your feelings on Sergeant Rock here and some of his appearances, Rod?
So, I mean, it's been very interesting. Like you're talking in regards to the Justice League appearance that he came in. I do remember. I think I do remember seeing that one. I didn't get a chance. I was trying to see if I can find it as a little clip to see back to refresh my memory. But I do remember when I saw the still of it. I was like, okay,
Yes.
that image does look familiar. I just couldn't remember the particular episode. But in regards of him being out there, in regards to being such a known IP that lasted for a length of time, that's a great aspect of it. That character, look, because of who he was and what he stood for in a sense of armed forces, being a military IP, that it was great that his character could still be used and still be used in a great way to just kind of promote and show, military life stories that, behind the lines type of scenario that you don't see that much anymore. Back in the days, there were many different type of soldiers, army, platoon type of books that were IPs that were made out. As you see, he's up to, when was it, 80, 89? Was it up to 88?
Yeah.
88, up to 88. But that's to show you, even in that span of the 80s, I don't remember seeing that many. There could have been there, but my mind never really focused on it too tough. But it just shows that at least he had the longevity that he can still interact and connect, with Batman, with Justice League, having the ability that, you can still pen the story of having him interacting with characters that we know and realize that it makes sense and it intertwines so well along that line. Having the foresight to bring that together, to me, is a great thing. So I like that it's good to have that type of genre still being made. That type of storyline, that type of IP is still being created and still being interacted. That, those stories are there. We now are going to have up-to-dated ones, update 2024 versions of it. But
yeah,
it's good to have that type of perspective, have that type of storyline that people can get an insight of what it is that, the armed forces, what do they do? What do they go through, and make the storyline very relevant, that you can say, okay, I can see what's going on abroad, what's happening at the front, and that type of, scenario. So you can have an understanding and say, okay, great. I see what it is. And if anybody who's interested in that particular life and feel like, they want to, not say contribute, but be part of something, that they realize I could be something greater for my fellow man, for my country, and so forth. Sometimes you may not realize where the inspiration comes from. The inspiration will come from anywhere. Someone's telling you a story, verbally a veteran telling you a story back, how he went through and everything along that line, to the point you see newscasts, to the point you might even see a comic book. So storyline, any type of influence comes in, if it can, make you feel I can do that as well, that's great. So Sergeant Rock is a good way of giving people the opportunity to see these type of stories through their eyes. And again,
yes.
and the writing has to be great, because look how long he survived. That IP has survived for so long. So that tells me the writing, the story, the illustrations had a beautiful mesh, that it made sense for people to actually be able to attract to it and pull themselves to it.
Well said. Well said, guys. Well said. Absolutely. And this is what this whole thing about comic books are. They're supposed to make you think. They're supposed to inspire you. They're supposed to show you stories, bring some drama to your life, and then in a good way, and then see what happens next, right? As we always say. So, and let's divert for a little second again. Once again, so we were talking a lot about Easy Company. So Sergeant Rock and Easy Company. That's how he got known. But then let's just flash a light on who's Easy Company. So Easy Company made first appearance in Our Army of War, issue number 81 in April of 1959. So Easy Company made their first appearance before Sgt Rock, right? Now, Easy Company is about 15, 16 individuals that have been in there along with Sgt Rock. So the team was there before, and I'm going to give you just quick rundowns. Yep. So with that military unit, you had people, and they all had code names. Everyone had a nickname back then, like we say with West Indians. Everyone got a nickname, and no one knows their real names. All right, enough said. So we have Bulldozer, who was the second in command, right? And there was Bogman, Canary, Four Eyes, Hothead. I could have been there. Ice Cream Soldier, Jackie Johnson, Little Sure Shot, Long Round, Short Round, Wildman, Worrywart, and Zach. That was the troops. Now, who we know that, for example, Bulldozer was the second in command, holding the rank of corporal. Okay. He's a normally big, strong man. His real name was Horace Eudes Canfield. Wow. Okay. And he was a machine gunner or an automatic rifle, one of the two. So that's Bulldozer. Then you got Wildman, and his nickname derives from turning into a wild man while engaged in battle. Okay, so he's pretty much a berserker. Here we go. And it was Harold Shapiro. But some sources say his first name could have been Joseph. So that's who Wildman is. And we got Jackie Johnson. Of course, Jackie Johnson. Keep it real, brother. He was the African-American trooper, ex-heavyweight boxing champion. Okay, then. And so he was a mix of Jackie Robinson and Joe Louis. And he was, one of the first non-stereotypical African-American characters in comics. Right? So that's great to know. They gave him a good background. Boxer, ex-heavyweight boxer. He's in their mix of two great people that stand up to the test of time. All right, we good. Little Sure Shot was an Apache sniper. And his real name was Louis Kahana. And then you have Ice Cream Soldier, and his real name, let's see here.
Phil Marson.
Yeah, thank you.
Phil Masson.
All right, then. And then later on, after his nickname was shortened to Ice, from Ice Cream Soldier to Ice. Okay, no. We thinking Ice-T because he's more, yeah. Okay, that would make more sense. It was an Ice-T version as opposed to Vanilla Ice, right? All right, then. Then you had Four Eyes. And easily one of the best sharpshooters in that.
The infantry.
Yeah, in the infantry, in that rank. Okay, in that platoon. You had Zach, who was, he was originally their bazooka man, but then he lost one hand in combat. So he lost one arm in combat, but returned for the final mission. And his surname was Taylor. So we never got his full name, but Zach Nolan. Okay, his, last name, his surname was Taylor. So it would have been Taylor Nolan. He just went by Zach. But he was the bazooka man until he couldn't be anymore. And then, of course, he had Long Round and Short Round. These were the replacements for bazookas. So they were the replacements for Zach Nolan. So Long Round and Short Round, two different characters or two different people, but they were the bazooka team that came in. Canary was also another soldier, whistling. He was known for always whistling in any circumstances and not requiring silence. So if you had to have silence, he would just probably communicate that way. Worrywart was just another soldier, and he was always constantly worried that his number was up. Like that was it. Today was his day, right? Of course, he had Farmer Boy. He refused to let the war stop him from doing what he was born to do. So pretty much, he just liked the farm. He wanted to be a farmer, and that's what he wanted to do. And then you also had Sonny. He always earned his nickname because he was smiling. That's Samuel S. Gordon. You had Tagalong, his nickname Tagalong due to his shadowing Sgt Rock's every move, including following Sgt Rock into dangerous solo missions. His name was Thomas. I know a guy named Thomas. You all met our buddy Thomas.
We know a guy named Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas has followed me into some crazy stuff. All right, then. Okay. I wouldn't call him Tagalong. Don't let him know that. Well, whatever. I'm at a distance. I can outrun him. And of course, there was Wee Willie because of his small size. And he had King Soldier. He was an actor who became a soldier. Real name was Randy Booth. So there's a rundown of some of the Easy Company soldiers over time. that were put together. Now, Easy Company was created, so once again through DC Comics, and that was created by Bob Haney and Rose Andrew or Andro. There we go. So that's who created Easy Company. Then Sgt Rock was created by Joe, and but the other two creators, sorry, I'm forgetting right now. I'm looking at so many notes, and then they kind of put it all together. But what gets me is, what was the last time that I heard of an army troop? Now, Marvel had theirs, they were Nicholas, so you had Gabe, you had Dun, so the last time I heard of an army specialized force with nicknames that you didn't know some of the real names from. When did that come about, Rod?
I don't know. That's what I was saying earlier. That reflecting, like, it's been so long that I don't think I've. If you can refresh my memory, that'd be great. But I'll tell you, that's why I'm saying since '88 was the last time I've heard of anybody in this particular capacity doing something like that. Who would that be, Barry? Who would that be?
G.I. Joe, greatest American hero. G.I. Joe is there. G.I. Joe, greatest American hero. Combat specialist. Okay, you're right. We know, and please, I'm not going to get into the theme song from the G.I. Joe movie because that will take us about another 20 minutes for me to get that out of my system. It's already in my head, and I'm trying to save you all from me repeating that. You can watch one of our episodes where we talked about G.I. Joe, the movie, and it's like dun, 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 dun. Okay, I'm good. Crashing through the. Okay, I'm good.
You
good? Okay. Cobra. I'm fighting my inner demons. Okay, I'm good. All right, I'm good. Okay, I'm good. All right, sorry. Yeah, I think I'm all right. Yeah, I got willpower. Very little. It's okay. Yes. So to me, I think this was an influence to how the G.I. Joe cartoon, the resurgence of the G.I. Joe figures came about, because clearly, in my opinion, Nick Fury was an influence to Sgt. Rock was influenced to Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
I think this whole thing was influenced to G.I. Joe, the real American hero. So where G.I. Joe went from a 12-inch figure down to a smaller figure, they used the frame size, height size from the Fisher-Price Toys Action Adventure People. Because Fisher-Price came up with their line of Adventure People toys. And because of the price of gas, petroleum, and making those figures in plastic, they had to make them smaller. So a lot of companies struggled with what size should you make your figures at. And Fisher-Price Adventure People had their price point really low, that Kenner followed suit with that when they made the Star Wars figures. And of course, Hasbro followed too when they made their G.I. Joe figures, saying, yeah, we're going to make them that height because it's less money and we can get it out there and put it in the hands. So to me, Sgt. Rock is, the grandfather to a lot of the stuff we see today.
Right.
Stories, using the military in a positive, true light, getting into the G.I. Joe genre where they started off as a small team and they've gotten bigger. The nicknames, where they refer to by nickname first and foremost, as opposed to the real names at all. Here we are. And this is what we had to talk about to kick off this month. So, this point, Rod, let's get down to vision and fan casting for Sgt. Rock.
Okay. So,
take it away, sir.
I wanted to, because there's a lot of depth in this, but the IP at this time in 2024, he's not that known. So I would have liked to do this in regards of doing a movie,
right?
And then seeing how the response is from that. And then, if anything, then going to like a series in the sense of going in his backstory and just, giving more depth into it. But at least if you're having an action flick type of character, I wanted to start off with a movie. So I wanted this to be live. So the person I wanted to have who would represent would be Luke McFarlane. Luke McFarlane, you ask. Who's that? If you've ever watched Killjoy, that would be Devon Jacobus. Basically, the number one, number two of Killjoy. So if you know that show, I wanted someone who was known but not known. And I just say this as no disrespect to him. I just wanted someone who's basically that people will know, like they say, okay, I know of the show, I see him, because in that he's basically they're basically mercenary type of bounty hunters. So he's already has the aptitude and understanding. Luke already understand how to be a soldier, because basically his character was an excluded soldier, if I remember correctly. So he already has the pose and the mindset to be that. So now we're going to say that at that point, I can't recall what his rank was, but we're going to put him as, staff sergeant, and just basically saying, you're now leading a troop, which to me, if I remember correctly, sounded like he was that already. But what was his rank? I don't know. I'll admit that in the TV show Killjoy.
Right. Okay.
Luke McFarlane would be who I would want. He has the ability to be that gruff type of look. Like he can be out in the trenches, work, doing his job, doing his part. And he's a pretty boy, but let him get a little scuffed up, and you can see him like, yeah, I can see him. Get him in the right outfit, get him in the right environment, the right atmosphere. I believe Luke would be able to carry that character and give us a different insight on it, and be able to carry on from there.
Okay. I was looking him up. Okay? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Good call, cuz. Good call. Because I'm looking at your guy right now, and I see who I picked. And I have to laugh the similarities between the two.
Really?
So, look into this. So I agree with you. Live action movie, not a series. Live action movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go further and challenge whoever, if they make this in a live action movie, I want to see it done a certain way. So clearly we know it's a World War II story. It's going to be a period piece. It has to stay there.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have a narrator that's trying to introducing it and then talking about the adventures of them. You don't know who the narrator is, and it could be anyone from Easy Company a little bit in the future. Okay, fine. And you could throw on things in the background saying, to kind of show the connectivity in the DC universe.
Okay.
I would have someone from Easy Company being the narrator. Don't know who it is, or a family member, or whatever.
Have the skipper. Right? Have the skipper.
Exactly.
Skipper was the commander. Skipper. Have Skipper do that. He was the commander, so yeah, he can be saying these are the stories.
So yes, have Skipper do that, and it'd be nice to see the Skipper talking to maybe one of, as it turns around, one of Sergeant Rock's family members present day. Right? So maybe it could be like one of his nieces or nephews, because he's got brothers and sisters. So let it be, he's got a brother, he's got a sister, Sergeant Rock. So let him be talking to maybe one of his nieces of saying, yeah, I served with your grandfather, your great uncle, and here we are, right? And in the background, it could be, breaking news, Gotham, Batman strikes again, or something like that, just so it's within the same universe.
Gotcha.
Right? Start maybe that present day. So the Skipper, of course, aged, maybe in a home, maybe at home, talking. You don't know. You just even talking to someone young. You don't know what the correlation is until the end of the movie. And the end of the movie, you realize it's one of Sergeant Rock's
family
members.
Yes.
Right? That's what. Beautiful. You got that? But then here's my challenge. The challenge is you change it visually to a 1950s style. So if you go online right now on YouTube, there's a lot of people making these panoramic AE movies in a classic panoramic style, or pan style. So it's got the classic 1940s, 1950s feel of how they should look visually. With the lighting, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
With the lighting, how the set designs are, the costumes. So Present day, you give me whatever 8K, whatever they're using right now, and when it goes back in the past, you make the rest of the movie explaining Sergeant Rock's adventures in that old panoramic 1950s style, well, and I say, and make it look that way, but then put it as a World War II piece, obviously,
Okay.
and go through. And then when it comes to the end of the movie, you bring it back to present day. So that's how you know you're in the past and present. It doesn't have to be black and white, just a panoramic style. So if you see it, you know what I'm talking about.
Basically, you're trying to say it looks like a film reel.
Exactly.
That's the best
like
example I would say. That. Make it like a film reel, and you're looking back at it, and throughout the whole visual of it, you have all the crackles on the side kind of scenario, and that's you'll be as maybe not 4K because 4K is wearing in the present, but just doing a little 1080. But do a little 1080 with a 1060 or 1050.
Well,
it's looking like 4K, it's there.
4K.
No, but you make it look like it's a little rough. You make it a little rough. Like,
course,
okay.
And if you look at AI movies or AI intros on YouTube,
yeah. Okay, that's what you're saying. You definitely want to have that texture. Okay, cool. You want to have that same texture. Okay.
Because back then, what they thought was like high end, compared to now, right? Their colors had a certain saturation to it, a color.
Right.
So let that go and put that in a gritty kind of World War II scenario.
Okay. So here's where I would challenge that back with saying like, when you're doing a memory, when anybody's doing any type of memory, do you really know that you remember everything in 4K?
True. Facts.
So that's right. I would like, because any flashback we always have, of course, it's always going to be as crisp and as proper as possible. No problem. You want the visual aspect of it. But if I'm going to think maybe just to tag on and make that a little bit, to make it a little realism, and as the words you say, I believe I remember it like this. Once you have that statement right there, that means he's going to be as truthful that he can remember. And it may actually be, but you're going in a memory now. So you're now like seeing, just a little, the fonts are just slightly off. Just slightly off.
I like
just to give it a little real. To me, that'd be another way of doing realism texture versus the AI type of texture. And I know what you're saying. I've seen them too. And the real, when you do the old, how would the Fantastic Four look in the 1920s or something like that? It was like, okay, that's hilarious, cute, type of scenario. But I would just think that'd be something. DC, when Warner Brothers, when you guys do this, just remember us. Thank you very much.
Exactly. Thank you.
Just put us in the trenches. We'll be one of the foot soldiers in the Easy Company Part B.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. Hires. So now here's the actor. So the actor that I think that I would like to see play as Sgt Rock, and we've seen him before in different roles, and I like this actor. His name is Ryan Eggold, right? He was the main actor from the hospital drama New Amsterdam. All the time is like, how can I help? He also showed up in the movie Black Klansman, playing one of the Klan members and main guy, walking around as a redneck.
Okay.
Got a nice smile. He's got the build. I would like to see him. And he's been physical in the New Amsterdam TV series that I was watching when it was on. I liked him in Black Klansman. I know he's done other things. And if you look at your guy, Luke, and my guy, Ryan, physically, they are very similar on aspects. If I'm just looking at headshots, your guy that you picked was Luke. He's 6'2". My guy is 6 foot. Right?
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Chiseled jaw.
100%.
Chiseled jaw.
100%.
Jawline.
100%.
Right? Hairstyles, like hair colors, are very similar.
Yeah.
Between the two of them. I right? Like, okay. So that's what I'm going with. So live action, give me the flashback sequences a certain way, which would be the bulk of the movie. And I want Ryan Eggold to be, for me personally, I see him as Sgt Rock, because when I watched him in New Amsterdam, he inspired empathy, he inspired leadership, he inspired action, he inspired. That's what he did in that role. And I would like to see this actor take on a full-out action role, but take those characteristics that he's brought to other projects in that to flesh out Sgt Rock even more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Very good. I know. I can see who you're talking about. I can see Ryan. I can see that, that the possibility of him taking that role, and he can actually be able to, give another depth of it, of the character. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Even if you get the director, is it Patty Jenkins, who did Wonder Woman?
Mm-hmm.
Her directing on that first movie with the war scenes. Come on now. All right. Throw her into the mix. How she did that whole war scene and invasion and all that. Because clear in mind, Wonder Woman, that first movie with Gal Gadot, was pretty much a World War II storyline, or World War One.
Yes.
Right.
No. Yeah. Was one or two?
No, it was two. It was two. It was
World War II. It was two. Yeah.
So she had all that already visualized for this character. If she's got it that good, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
No, I hear you.
Okay. So there we go. That's my war piece, right? Bring back Patty, Ryan. Visually wise, I challenge the film people to film it a certain way, and that, my friends, is that on the Iconist podcast. For the icon is Sgt Rock, Planet Rock. Don't stop. I had to do it. All right. Any last words, Rod?
You know what? All I say is definitely hope you enjoyed what you heard. This character is a great IP for any type of war stories, army type of stories. Sgt Rock is a known IP. He's a recognizable character. So I hope that you were able to pick up some nice stuff from it. Hope you like what you heard. And again, if you have another suggestion of who can play him, please make sure you put it in the chat below. Please let us know.
Please let us know. Please. Okay, all right. Please let us know. And of course, we also have a WhatsApp channel, so you always find us on WhatsApp too. I keep forgetting to mention that. So we have a WhatsApp channel. You can always do us a quick message there and stuff like that. We want to interact with people as much as possible in a positive way. So please follow us. Like I said, like, subscribe, and share. Let us know what we're doing. We got some great comments and feedback so far. People are jumping on board with the show, so that makes us so happy. And I really, truly mean that we've been doing this passion project, and people are now, supporting us a little bit more. On that note, on top of it, the main thing, this whole world was created by a pencil, a piece of paper, and lots of imagination. Keep on dreaming. Out. Don't stop. Please don't.